For those of you who are joining us, this is the Oracle In podcast. I'm joined by Laquan and Kevin. My name's Eric, and we're going to get into what keeps us positive. We do tend to cover some heavy subjects, a lot of things that are going on in the world, and how do you stay optimistic through that? What do you guys think?
I try to align with the universe, man. I know, I want to tell people to kind of laugh, but for me, I just feel like, when I pray, I'm a spiritual person, so I pray for me, I pray to my ancestors, and I pray to the universe. I ask, just to speak to me, and tell me what it is that I need to be doing, so, and I just try to take whatever signs that come my way, and I just try to be positive. The most important thing is I try to stay present, and I know we always throw that word around, present, but I do actively try to stay present each and every day. If and I'm having a bad day, it's kind of like a mantra to myself: stay present, stay here. Don't start making up things that's not happened yet. Don't go in the past, stay present, and then and it's funny. I just want to plug his name, Shannon Briggs, but he has a great story. So if you don't know who Shannon Briggs is, he's a boxer. He's gone through a lot of things, but he has this great mantra called "Let's go, champ." Right. And the great thing about that is he said even before he was a champ, he would just say, "Let's go, champ." He was battling addiction, homeless, everything. But he was like, you know what? I always believed I was a champ. And he was like, a champ is anything. And so I do that to myself. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, you know what, man, fuck this. Let's go, champ. Let's go. And it's just, you kind of motivate yourself, kind of change your mindset, So those are things that help keep me positive. Just little mantras that you have for yourself to kind of get you through whatever situation that you're going through currently.
Yeah, I saw that guy on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it's like every other word is champ. He calls you a champ, he's a champ, and it's like to feel empowered. Kevin?
Yeah, I think mine comes out of anger. I'm like the Hulk, man. My secret's I'm always angry, but it's so I have to step back so that it makes actual sense instead. Like, oh, how are you staying positive? By being pissed off? So when you get around someone who is apathetic, right? They're just, I just don't care. The world's too much. You have one of really two options. You can try to get them optimistic about something, or you can try to piss them off, because otherwise they're just going to sit there. And if you can piss them off, they'll do something. If you can get them optimistic, they'll do something. So how do you break that apathy? Well, you got to pick one or the other. For me, I look, I mean, I don't know even if it's really positivity so much as it's, I truly believe that almost anything is possible. It might be hard. It might not be easy, but we can find a way to do almost anything. And just hanging on to that, and then just looking at the world and saying, man, this is bullshit, I need to do something about this. Those are the two things that really kind of keep me pushing forward. But I mean to be fair, when every once in a while I run into that brick wall of fuck it, we're all going to die, that nothing matters. And I'm not fun to be around for a little bit. But then I get angry again, and it gets me moving, and then I can look and see other people. That was the cool thing about being at NAU, the university here. Any place of where there's a lot of kids with ideas, is you look at that and you're like, you know what? Maybe there is a chance, because these kids, they're not as old and bitter as I am yet. So there's some hope from seeing some of the cool ideas, the cool people that are just stoked on finding solutions.
You know what I think it is, and to touch up on your point, because I took about a 12-year break before I went back to school. I tried at a few different community colleges, and it just wouldn't stick for me. I think what it is that gives me optimism, and I think this is why I'm such a huge advocate of education. You don't need a college degree to get an education. I mean, honestly, with the internet, you can get exactly the same information you get inside of a college classroom. The only difference is maybe a little bit more structure, so that way you take it a little bit more seriously and you force yourself to really read and think through the process. but the information is out there. And you know, I think, like you're saying, I think the thing that gives me hope is when I see, you know, like the Bernie Sanders campaign. Say what you will about his politics. That's not what this point is about. Look at the youth that finally woke up and finally started paying attention. And they finally started to get out there and do something. That's what we need. I mean, honestly, even with the young Trump supporters that I see, you know, I think they have a little bit of a gap in their understanding of some things, but at least they're becoming active. And that's a good thing, because if they're willing to put it out there, then that means that they're willing to be criticized for that. And that's where, you know, I think these things, we need a little bit of conflict. We need to understand that we're brushing up against each other's boundaries, and we need to have that dialogue. So
Well,
it
when
keeps
you
me optimistic.
when you push, you have to have something to push against,
True.
right? The Milo dude, the doucher that likes to, that he was at Berkeley. I'm not even gonna attempt his last name. Galifianakis. Let's just go with Galifianakis.
Okay.
No, I don't know. It starts with a Y. But you know, you get someone like that that's up there, and you're like, man, what a giant douchebag tool.
Wait, who is Milo?
He writes for Breitbart. Let me. He was just Yan now, YANNOPOULOS. He is an extreme right wing agitator and blogger. Essentially, he's like a younger, gayer Rush Limbaugh, but
Okay.
you know, he's like super conservative. And you know, he just went to Berkeley, and well, you know, the anarchist. Well, I say anarchist. The kids with their hoodies and backpacks showed up and started trying to fight everyone, but wearing masks, of course. But he ended up not being able to talk, and it's something that the conservatives freaked out. They're like, "Oh, what about free speech?" I'm like, dude, he loved every second of not being able to talk. It's the only reason people listen to him is because everyone hates him. But he's putting out these ideas where you can actually push back against it, and that friction is how we get dialogue going. Fortunately, it seems like he has thick enough skin that that he can take it, because I'm surprised you don't know who he is. You gotta watch some videos and go down the rabbit hole.
I've heard of him. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Do you give take a quick second to get some background? So Eric and I, we met in 2008. You know, at Irvine Valley College, and so one of the things about positivity and, you know, kids with ideas, you know, we were older students. You know, I was coming out the military. He was kind of starting his academic journey after 12-year hiatus. You know, and so through our, you know, our journey there, you know, we did a lot of great things. You know, we was able to educate and bring a lot of ideas to a lot of younger kids, and just to see that brings me hope and positivity too as well. You know, Eric started a green movement, you know, trying to bring a recycling center, you know, to the community college. You know, we was getting people riled up, you know, teaching them about solar panels, LEED, you know, LEED, you know, and just sustainability. You know, I had the opportunity, you know, to be in the Honor Society, to be the president of it. We was going on college tours. You know, we were doing all type of great things. And I think if we have more people out there doing that, trying to educate our youth, taking the knowledge, you know, the elder generation, you know, taking the knowledge that we've acquired and it's going back down. You know, that's the most important thing, is disseminating it back down, not holding on to it, not, you know, trying to be this, you know, expert of everything, but just passing this information back down, you know, to people. To me, that brought so much hope. It brought a lot of positivity. You know, I still do that to this day. I try to educate anybody I can on whatever it is, you know, that we're talking about. If I could bring something, you know, to you that you didn't know before, that helps me out too. That puts me in a really good mood. That, you know, really helps my soul out, you know, and keeps me in a good place mentally, you know. So, you know, to anybody out there, you know, if you got knowledge, if you've learned something, pass it on. Talk to somebody. Hey, did you know about this? You know, what are you thinking about that? You know, trigger conversation. I think the most important thing, trigger conversation and critical thought.
And I'd like to point out too, that was in a heavy conservative Republican area. I mean, I'm not kidding. Our sister community college had a shrine dedicated to Ronald Reagan. So I'm not kidding. This was the right of the right in California. And, you know, it was interesting working in that environment, because what I learned is that there are good Republicans out there. It's just the way that they need to be approached. Because here's the thing, a conservative, and I know I've mentioned this before, typically on the right, they focus more on the internal responsibility and accountability. You are what you make yourself out to be, where the left tends to focus on the external opportunities that we're all, somehow I don't want to say victimized, but we all struggle in life. So there should be external opportunities for that. And that's kind of where you get the polar extremes of that. The one thing that I've learned working with Republicans and conservatives is that don't attack their ideology. Don't take cheap shots. Just respect them the way that you would want to be respected, and listen to them the way you want to be listened to. And overall, that has been my experience. Both of us, we got a lot done because we entered into that area without prejudging, without trying to say like, oh, you're, full of shit and you guys aren't doing this and you're bad. And just said, scrap all of that. We're trying to do something good here. And then just went after it like that. So at least in my experience working with Republicans, and I'm not saying that there aren't the wackos out there, because in Arizona, it's definitely a different type of thing than I saw, but it's really different out here.
Yeah.
It's possible.
The main thing about talking to people that you probably want to fist fight, right? You're like, man, we're going to fight eventually. But in the meantime, let's find that common ground. Because you're a human being, I'm a human being. Where we can agree, let's agree. And where we can't, once we run out of things to agree on, let's go fight.
Well, maybe let's dedicate a podcast to that. Let's really dive in and see, how can we maybe help people on either side find that? So that way then they can take that and be like, all right, can we at least start here?
Yeah, I'd be down for that. Because there's some TED Talks that we've all been kind of going back and forth, and just one is the 5 moral roots of liberals and conservatives. One is emotional correctness, and one is advancing political conversation. And I think the best things about these TED Talks, so if you get an opportunity, please look those up. It really kind of just pulls you away from the labels. And then it takes in and it breaks apart liberals, and it breaks apart, conservatives. And it lets you know, like, look, be in the middle, be open, be a container, right? Just be a glass, an empty glass. And just, let the information flow in, make some sense out of it, and then make your decision from there. But when you already marry yourself, oh, I'm a conservative, you're not open, to a liberal, maybe for a little bit, because you're part of a team, right? And a team concept is within the team. You're not really thinking about the opposition, which is a liberal. If you're a liberal, you're a conservative. So if you think about a team mindset, it's us versus them. It's a tribal mentality. So if you're saying, oh, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal, libertarian, whatever, it's really hard. You're fooling yourself thinking that you're open, because you're not. Because the moment somebody goes against your fabric of who you are, your ideology, your value, you tune them out. Something has to be wrong with them, right? So, you just look at this election, right? You had Hillary supporters, you had Trump supporters. Trump won. Something must be wrong with the Trump supporters, right, for voting Trump. Had Hillary won on the Trump side, something must be wrong with the Hillary supporters since they voted for Hillary. There's no open dialogue. There's no progression. So, but yeah. And I think
Erica is leaving. So, well, Eric's gone. Let's talk about Eric. No, I think that's, going into any conversation with I'm right, you're wrong is the wrong way to start that conversation. If you go in and say, okay, we disagree. Bernie Sanders went to what was the religious school in Texas, Southern Methodist or something. He went to something.
Southern Methodist, yeah.
Yeah, and he started with, we're not going to agree on abortion. We're not going to agree on religion, or he said, but maybe he did his maybe just maybe kind of thing. We can talk about things like healthcare, taking care of the sick and helping the poor, and let's talk about those things, because on that we can agree. And I thought, from a political standpoint, it was a brilliant. I think it endeared him to the people that were sick of the conflict all the time. But it also, think about everyone in that room now went, hey, maybe all of those, Democrats or liberals or whatever aren't giant douchebags. Maybe some of them are good people, just because they're willing to, move past the disagreement and focus on what we hold as, a common belief.
Yeah, no, I
look
agree.
at how Bernie Sanders voted for cabinet positions. He didn't vote no for all of Trump's candidates. He voted yes. I think it's for who was that? Matisse, and there was one other guy.
Yeah, actually the only Trump cabinet position so far that I looked at and I was like, this wouldn't be the worst thing ever is the warrior monk Secretary of Defense guy. General.
That's Matisse,
Yeah,
right?
General. I don't know how to say his last name, but he was the general coming out of the Marine Corps that they call what's his call sign's Chaos when he's out in the field. He doesn't like the term Mad Dog, I guess, but
oh, that's right, Mad Dog Matisse.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode. And like I said, we're doing a double header and we'll chop this up and put it out on YouTube. So they're in smaller segments. But do you guys have any concluding remarks for this episode?
Yeah, just the most thing too, just to piggyback off what we're talking about is, when you're having dialogue with somebody, really kind of sit back and think to yourself, am I listening to respond or am I listening to actually understand? Because when you think about it, if you're talking to somebody that you normally don't agree with, are you listening to respond? And when I say that, I mean, like, okay, so if me and Kevin just doesn't get along, right? And I already know we're not going to get along with what we're going to talk about. Am I just listening, formulating a response and not even trying to understand what he's saying? So the moment he's done, I'm already shooting back a response. So at this point, I'm listening to respond. At this point, I'm not even respecting what he's saying. I'm just trying to come up with a counter argument because I don't want him to get any type of momentum or get any ground on me. And so I think that's something we should practice. And I know for myself, that's something I'm working on, is actually listening to understand instead of listening to respond.
I've thought about that because I'm wondering about the psychology of this, but when you're engaged one-on-one with somebody, it's more intimate because I feel like people are less likely to do that in a crowd because the second that you do give up your ground, you're going to start to feel like people are teaming up on you. And that's where, I think anybody would be like, no, I can't give up. It's too vulnerable. But if you're talking one-on-one with somebody, is it just a fear factor that you're afraid that you might actually see it from a different point of view? And then it could rock your belief system, because I feel like I can have a conversation with anybody about anything and maybe it'll influence me, maybe it won't. I feel strong enough in my will that I can listen and truly understand and then decide for myself whether or not it's something that I'll adhere to or not.
Context of it. I think it deals with the context of it, what it is. If it's political in that arena, I'm with you on that. I think if it's something more of an emotional thing, I think it's between maybe a guy and a girl, something like that. I think it might be a little different because you might have your values of what you believe and stuff like that, and taking criticism or whatever, you're like, whoa, like this could unhinge me. But to your point, I think it could rock up belief system. So I think some people are afraid of that. Like, I might be wrong. And then if you take that away from me, what do I have left? Right. So nobody wants to feel vulnerable most times. So.
Yeah. I mean, arguing's fun, right? Arguing to respond can be fun, but you don't really build it. It might be fun, but so is masturbation, and all that does is make you feel good. It does nothing for the rest of the world. So as as much as I think talking to people, and if you can have it, and I've had conservative people tell me, it's like, I actually enjoy talking to you because you don't attack me, you're not, and I'm like, why would I attack you? I mean, you can be wrong or I could be wrong, but you are still a human being deserving of the base level of respect at least. So and go out there and talk to people you disagree with. It's fun. You might learn something even.
You bring up a good point, and that's, don't attack the person, attack the reasoning, attack a particular belief. But the second you narrow that into direct full-on attack, it's human instinct to throw up a guard. Nobody wants that
unless it's Donald Trump, and then you have at it.
Oh god, that guy, it's so easy though to get under his skin. It's so easy. All right, well, that'll wrap it up for this episode, and thank everybody for watching.